Thanksgiving, it's just days away, and we all have that one family member who never fails to bring up politics or other taboo table topics. Our first guest is an expert in curiosity and connection. Her advice has been featured in the New York Times and in a viral TED Talk. Plus, she's the best-selling author of I Never Thought of It That Way. Welcome to the show, Monica Guzman. Hello.
Hello, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
This is very timely, a very timely topic right now. So I do want to first talk about timing. You say don't have the talk at the dinner table. What do you mean by that?
Oh, this is the number one mistake people make. The cliche is that the big conversations happen over the Thanksgiving dinner. But the more contained your conversation is to a fewer number of people, the more productive and constructive it's likely to be. So if you need to talk to Uncle Bob, something's bothering you, you watch him eat his mashed potatoes and you're just freaking out, wait until after dinner, wait until everyone's put their dishes away. Hey, Uncle Bob, could we chat for a minute? You know, there's something I'd like to talk to you about. Make sure Uncle Marty is not eavesdropping. Really find your space with Bob. And that's where people can be candid and explore their perspectives honestly.
Yeah, and have that one-on-one connection. It can be so hard to, I know I'm one of these people, when things get really uncomfortable, I kind of get like nervous laughter going. I don't really know what to say. So when someone brings something up that really gets under your skin, what do you say at that moment?
Right. Well, the temptation is often to try to avoid. Sometimes, though, it's okay to give space to whatever's bothering people, just to allow the engagement to happen. So at that point, ask a curious question. You'll hear something that bothers you, and assumptions will download into your mind, and you'll start to get kind of nervous. Ask something like, what do you mean by that? Give a little time for that person to explain themselves. Often, if they spoke with a bit of emotionality, that gives them time to calm down and say, oh, okay, she's interested in what I mean. Let me take the time to be understandable.
Oh, perfect. Getting curious. I heard that a lot. I think it helps with any relationship.
It's everything.
So next up, politics. This can be a dreaded topic that really always seems to somehow come up. What is your advice going into a meal with someone that maybe voted differently than you did?
Yes, the number one thing is don't assume people's values from their votes. I'm in a politically divided family, and my mother likes to tell me, my vote was not a love letter. You know, there's a lot of nuance in our politics, but our landscape tends to flatten everything into stereotypes. So just keep in mind that you can ask folks questions like, how did you come to believe that? And you can stay open to, what does Uncle Bob believe? Instead of, how could he believe this horrible thing? Stay open, have him articulate his beliefs, and go slow so that you can pick that up. The great thing about that, too, is once he has said his piece, it's a really nice time to pivot back to you and say, you know what? I look at that very differently. Can I tell you what I mean? And then he can give you back the gift you just gave him of generous listening.
Yeah, and being curious and letting you say your piece. You have great advice that people can't hear you until they feel heard. I feel like you've touched on this, but can you explain more?
Yes. So a lot of us make the mistake of thinking that persuasion is mostly about, you just have to listen to me. You just have to hear the reasons that make so much sense to me. And as soon as you hear them, they will make sense to you and we'll all be done and go home happy. But that's not how persuasion works. And what all the research points to is that if you want someone to receive your ideas, and they are ideas that are a little bit foreign to them or uncomfortable to them, the best way to unlock their ability to listen to you is for you to listen to them. Because for the most part, across our political divide, we are so guarded, we are so afraid of being judged. So the first thing we're checking for is this person listening to me? Are they taking me seriously? Are they waiting for a chance to tell me I'm wrong or I'm stupid or I'm a bad person? Don't give them that excuse to shut down. Let them open up. And then once you do that, coming back to the pivot, they've been heard by you and you say, I see it differently. Can I tell you what I mean? They really will give you that. They will give you that time. And that's when they are now receptive to your ideas because you've been receptive to theirs.
It makes perfect sense. And what should people do when things are getting heated? Maybe a table's about to be flipped. You can tell that things are getting to that level.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard thing is de-escalate, slow down, take a break. Even if, I've done this, I've made up that I need a glass of water. You know what I mean?
Gotta go.
Anything to get my body out of like the space where things are just filling up, right? If I just go get a glass of water, I take a breath. and I come back and something in my brain has already shifted. Something has softened. Something has softened for them too. That's almost always what happens, especially with people who love each other or want to stay connected.
Right.
That instinct in us will come up if we take a breather from the anger and the rage and frustration that can come from so many directions in our society.
So you think that's the best way to really just disarm tension, is to come up with an excuse and go take a breather, potentially outside, water?
Exactly.
Okay.
And keep this in mind too, that the best conversation is the one you can continue later, right? So whatever you can do to make sure that any temptation to kind of burn that bridge and tell them they're awful, just go, if you feel that temptation, just make yourself slow down, make yourself stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, hey, let's chat after the football game.
Right, because ultimately the end game isn't to alienate Uncle Bob or whoever it may be. You know, you clearly invited them to your Thanksgiving and table because you love that person.
Yes, and we all want to be understood at the end of the day.
Definitely. And is there a way to set up maybe ground rules to avoid some taboo topics from coming up even in the first place? Like, can you say at the beginning, hey, no politic talk tonight?
That's a really good point. I find that that's most effective if it's done one-on-one. So you don't necessarily need to tell the whole table and just make everyone feel like they're kind of on notice, but you could talk to the folks that tend to be the dramatic ones and just say, hey, you know, last year I know that this happened, you know, and you remember when this and that kind of resulted from that and it got a little tense. If you need to talk to Mary, do you think that you could do that away from the table and have the conversation? I think that is often better than trying to make a hard and fast rule that makes people feel like they can't really be themselves if something comes up.
Perfect advice. How can people find you to learn more and learn more about your book as well?
So I'm Moni Guzman on Instagram and moniguzman.com, and that will point you to all the stuff. There's so many resources, so much more where this came from.
Well, this was such an important and timely topic. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Kelly, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.